Paul George, James Harden, and Russell Westbrook combined for just 28 points on 8 for 36 shooting. All right, Stephen A., I'm going to start with you since you said it was nice and not sunshiny there in LA. How disappointing were PG-13, Harden, and Russ last night?
It was a catastrophe. There's no way around this. And listen, I want to say this off the top. And you can put Andraya and Legs up on the screen because I want to say this. I want to see their face when I say this. I want wholesale changes in Los Angeles. Steve Ballmer just needs to blow it up. Enough's enough, okay? Enough's enough. Now, we don't expect now if there's something a change takes place and somehow, some way a Ty Lue squad, because he's fully capable of pulling this off because he's an exceptional coach, turns things around, they come out and win Game 6 and they come back to win Game 7, that may be a different story, but I don't expect that to happen. We see James Harden. We've been raving about it. We saw him perform in a couple of games this series. We saw what he did in a couple of games without Kawhi Leonard, averaging over 30. And then what happens last night? 7 points? Really? Really? This is what we're talking about here. What the hell was that about? Russell Westbrook, I mean, Lord, since he got himself ejected in Game 3, he's been a no-show. We got to look at that particular situation. And then you ultimately watch Paul George struggle the way that he struggled last night. This is what I'm trying to say about the Los Angeles Clippers. At some point in time, you can't be about trying to compete with the Los Angeles Lakers. Laker Nation is Laker Nation. They got their fan base and what have you. But the bottom line is you're not going to be them. You got to establish your own. And in order to establish your own, you got to have dependable bodies to rely upon. Kawhi Leonard is your star. I want to state this for the record again. Nobody's questioning the sincerity or the legitimacy of his injury. We know he's injured, but he is the absolute worst superstar you could possibly have. Ever, because he's not available for 48% of his regular season games. He's not available for more than 30% of the playoff games, okay? He seems to miss it when it counts most, and he does absolutely positively nothing to market your brand. And because he doesn't do anything to market your brand, because he doesn't do anything to market the sport, all of a sudden now you got to rely on other players to come through for you. Paul George is spectacular one day he's ordinary. James Harden is spectacular one day, another time, always during the playoffs, he's an absolute no-show. They're 4-8 in playoff games where James Harden scores 10 or less points. How the hell are there 12 different games where you score 10 or less points in a playoff game when you're one of the most prolific scorers the game of basketball has ever seen? These are the question marks. And then to have the audacity, the unmitigated gall to come out there and to look lifeless. I mean, they got blown out last night. Ladies and gentlemen, it wasn't like Luka dropped 35 and Kyrie had 40. Kyrie had 14 points. Max Kleber comes off the bench in 19 minutes and hit 5 threes. Luka did what he said he was going to do. No answer from the Los Angeles Clippers whatsoever. I saw people sitting courtside. Y'all thought they had popcorn bags. No, they didn't. They had bags there to throw up in. They wanted to vomit because they saw the Los Angeles Clippers stink up the joint the way that they did. It wasn't popcorn in those bags. People were practically throwing up with what the hell they saw. It was an atrocious performance, a lifeless performance, no excuse whatsoever in a pivotal Game 5, knowing you got to go back to Dallas for Game 6, knowing what you did to them in Game 4, knowing you could beat this team, to come out in front of that fan base, which was stacked last night, the building was filled, and you still put up a performance like that. It was disgraceful. Disgraceful. And if they get their butts whipped in Game 6, not only will people not be surprised, they'll say thank you for mercifully putting an end to this season. Steve Ballmer needs to rethink who he has there as his personnel. It's not good enough. It's not good enough. Period.
This team needed to be ignited with energy, and they didn't get it from anyone. Usually that's Russ who can come in and ignite the team with his performance on the floor. He struggled knocking down shots. He struggled with his efficiency. Those three, Westbrook, Harden, and PG, 8 of 36 combined is just not going to get it done. But to me, Stephen A., when your superstar is out, you want to play great for them. You want to play great and hopefully get a chance to get them back on the floor. You want to play inspired basketball on your home court for your superstar, and you don't see that happening. You didn't see that happen to a dramatic effect with this Clippers team. This was an opportunity for them to step up. After Harden and PG played extremely well in the last game, they just dropped the ball on this one. But to me, it was the dropped shoulders, the uninspired. Like, they had no life, they had no energy.
Stephen A., you and I have been on the show how many times talking about James Harden in big spots.
Countless.
And nobody's been harder on him than me. And last night was exactly what you expect from James Harden in a moment like that. And it's not just what happened in Philadelphia, because people want to point to the 2 40-point games he had against Boston last year. Well, he had 5 other games where he averaged 11 points a game and shot 25% from the field in a 7-game series, including getting annihilated on the road in a Game 7. Go all the way back to his Houston days. He had moments where literally, you can't believe what you're watching because you're talking about a dude that led the league in scoring when he was in Houston and then decides on a given night in a playoff game, a pivotal game, he's just not going to shoot the basketball in the first quarter. And you go, where is the dude that I watched all year? And then you look at the coaches, Doc Rivers, Mike D'Antoni, scratching their heads trying to figure out how are we supposed to win when a guy that dominates the ball to that extent plays like that, with that little aggression and just lifeless in his approach to the game. And this is exactly what James Harden has given us to expect in these spots. Now, Paul George as well has had moments like this, but I think to a lesser degree, because here's what I'll say about James Harden. As a superstar talent, which he is, his floor is so low that on a given night, when he hits that floor and goes into these dark places where he just gives you nothing offensively, you can't overcome it because he's got the ball too much. You need him to play close to the level that he does at his best. He doesn't have to be great every night, and that team's got a lot of help on it. But you can't play like you did last night where you literally don't show. Now, the last thing I'm going to say about it is this. I don't think it would have mattered last night because what you saw in Luka Doncic was a superstar playing with supreme level of control and confidence. He looked every one of his teammates in the eye and said, I got this, watch. And he dismantled them. He controlled the pace. He controlled the possessions. He was decisive. He got to his mid-range, didn't take quite as many of those step-back threes that he wasn't hitting in the first 4 games. He got what he wanted. He owned them on that end of the floor. It calmed everybody down on his team and then allowed everybody else, hey, help me out a little bit, but I got this. So I don't think it would have mattered how they played last night. The way Luka looked, the look in his eye, the competitiveness, it was all there. A superstar on display who has shown repeatedly what he is capable of in big spots.
Hell with that. Hell with that. It's not about whether or not it would have mattered. That's that in terms of the final outcome. It matters how you show up to perform. They lose the game. We're not crucifying them. We understood that this is a series that could go either way. We picked the Mavs, but we understood it could go either way. You're going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Remember, they're up 31 on Dallas. Dallas comes back, takes the lead before they ultimately lose the game. We understand how this could go. The issue with the Clippers is the lifelessness. It's the lack of urgency in key pivotal moments. It's the boneheadedness. It's the lethargy. It's this. Listen. And I've said this when it came to the Los Angeles Lakers at times, throwing aside LeBron and AD because it wasn't applicable to them. Remember when I said Tim Legler and Andraya, you was busy doing a marvelous, wonderful job with the NCAA tournament and stuff like that, and I was getting all over the Lakers. Christine remembers this, okay? I talked about how Jeannie Buss and Rob Pelinka, look, man, I literally told Jeannie Buss and them, the Jeannie Buss, the Linda Rambuses of the world, the Rob Pelinkas of the world. Hell, I would have told Magic Johnson had he answered my damn call. I'd have said, yo, what you need to do is grab a couple of these brothers and just drive them around L.A. and look at these clear blue skies and this sunshine and the palm trees and ask them, you want to be here? You know, there's plenty of other places to go. They ain't like this. You sure you want to be here? That's what Mr. Ballmer needs to do with some of these Clippers. But the problem is you can't. You know why you can't? Because he keeps falling for the okie doke, investing in a Kawhi Leonard, who makes sure he does just enough to get his bag, to get those guaranteed dollars, and then after that, this brother ain't at work. Now, we know he's injured, and I understand that, and I'm not questioning that. But what I'm saying is when you combine the lack of availability with the refusal to be remotely marketable, you ultimately infuse a level of ambiance or whatever it is that dictates a culture. And that level of nonchalance, that lack of urgency, that distance from being marketable, from being promotable. Here's what happens, guys. And Legler, Andraya, and you know this because both of y'all smart as hell along with you, Christine. Y'all will think when I say this, it's going to hit home for you. See, when you don't focus on being marketable, when you don't focus on having an allure and a level of an attraction, you know what that ultimately invokes? That revokes a distance between you and your constituency, your fan base, or whomever it is. You live and let live, you go home. They know you're about that, so they don't have the urgency either. And it compromises the fervor, the adrenaline, the enthusiasm, and everything that comes with it to build a fan base. Look at Steve Ballmer courtside. I'm at Clippers games, y'all. I was there last night. The man is a billionaire. He don't need this. This is chump change to him. He don't need this. This man is at courtside, and half the time, he's showing more enthusiasm and more energy than the players he pays. Come on. Come on. That's what happened last night. I'm telling you right now, I saw at least two people that looked like they were ready to throw up. I won't say their names, but they had brown bags. And wasn't no damn food in there. Wasn't no popcorn in there. They wanted to throw up, and I don't blame them. The Clippers last night, just last night, the Clippers were an utter disgrace. They should be ashamed of their damn selves. And if I'm Ty Lue, I want out. I want to get the hell out of there. I want to coach a team that I know is going to have players that's going to show up so I can prove my mettle as a coach, as opposed to being compromised by dudes that can clearly play. They ain't scrubs now, which is why I'm going off, because they better than that. These brothers can play. They ain't scrubs. I don't give a damn how great Luka Doncic is, Andraya, Tim. Clippers ain't that bad. They ain't that bad. They were disinterested. They look like a bunch of brothers running around that was suffering from bloatedness and gas or something. It was horrible. It was horrible.